Tonight, we examine a crisis quietly unfolding in America's heartland. A crisis that threatens not just the livelihoods of farmers, but the very backbone of rural communities across the nation. It's a crisis hidden behind overflowing grain bins and silent, echoing warehouses where abundance has become a burden. Across Iowa, mountains of soybeans from last year's harvest remain unsold, gathering dust instead of profit. In California, almonds pile up in cold storage, waiting for buyers who may never come, as the clock ticks on their freshness and value. This is the stark reality facing thousands of American farmers as September 2025 arrives, a season of uncertainty and anxiety. These farmers did everything right, planting, nurturing, and harvesting with care. Yet their crops now sit idle with nowhere to go. The problem isn't a bad harvest or drought. The fields are green, the harvest bountiful. The real issue is politics, and the consequences are far-reaching. Farmers are caught in the crossfire of a trade war they never started, casualties of tariffs and retaliatory measures exchanged between Washington and Beijing with no end in sight. Policy decisions made in distant capitals have become daily struggles for survival here, turning routine farm life into a constant battle with uncertainty. Imagine investing your life, your family's legacy in the land, only to have the rules change overnight, leaving you powerless. The main customer you built your business around, the market you depended on, is suddenly gone, leaving you stranded. Farmers were told to be patriots, to endure short-term pain for long-term gain. But for many, the pain hasn't ended, it's only deepened. The silence at the ports is deafening, a stark reminder of lost opportunity and halted progress. Soybeans lose quality in storage, almonds can't wait forever, and dairy products expire. Each day the losses grow. This isn't just about lost profits, it's about watching your hard work, your sweat and hope slowly spoil before your eyes. Inventory is stuck, warehouses are full, and the global marketplace has been redrawn, leaving American farmers on the outside looking in. Farmers are left with a bountiful harvest and a broken promise. A promise that hard work would always pay off. Their livelihoods are on hold, their future uncertain, as families wonder how long they can hold on. The crisis is real, and it's happening now, with headlines and auctions marking the toll on rural America. The question is, how did we get here? What led to this moment of crisis and confusion? And most importantly, what comes next for America's farmers? Can hope and resilience carry them through? Or will the silence of the warehouses become the new normal? To truly understand this crisis, we have to look back to a time when American agriculture was thriving and the world seemed full of opportunity for U.S. farmers. Before tariffs and trade disputes, American farmers relied heavily on a growing Chinese market, shipping millions of tons of crops overseas each year. Iowa soybeans and Wisconsin dairy products fed a booming Chinese middle class, creating a powerful economic bond between the two nations. This relationship was decades in the making, a vital pipeline for U.S. agriculture built on trust, reliability, and mutual benefit. Then in 2018, everything changed. The trade war began, the U.S. imposed tariffs, China retaliated with its own. Beijing specifically targeted American agriculture, slapping a 25% tariff on soybeans and other key products, sending shockwaves through rural America. The pipeline was abruptly severed, and farmers, who had nothing to do with the politics, were caught in the middle, facing uncertainty and fear. This wasn't about poor performance or lack of innovation. American farmers are among the world's best, using cutting-edge technology and hard work. But geopolitics, not farming, created this crisis, leaving farmers powerless as decisions were made far from their fields. Farmers were told to be resilient, promised relief, and given federal aid to help weather the storm, but the uncertainty lingered. Yet government checks can't replace lost markets or rebuild the trust that took years to establish with overseas buyers. Decades-old relationships with Chinese buyers vanished almost overnight, leaving a void that's hard to fill. The pain, meant to be temporary, has become a way of life for many farm families, reshaping their futures. Farmers don't want handouts. They want customers, stable markets, and the chance to compete fairly on the world stage. Instead, they became pawns in a global chess match, their livelihoods used as bargaining chips in high-stakes negotiations. Their livelihoods became collateral damage, with some losing farms that had been in their families for generations. The trade war's impact has been deep and lasting, rippling through rural communities and local economies. The question remains, can these farmers recover, rebuild their markets, and restore what was lost? Or has the damage already been done, leaving scars that may never fully heal? The numbers reveal the true scale of the crisis, painting a stark picture of just how deeply American agriculture has been affected. In 2017, the U.S. exported over $24 billion in agricultural goods to China. Soybeans alone made up $14 billion, making China the single largest market for American farmers. 1 out of every 3 rows of U.S. soybeans was destined for China, supporting thousands of rural communities and family farms. When tariffs hit, exports to China collapsed by over 70%, almost overnight, leaving farmers with unsold crops and mounting uncertainty. The market didn't just shrink, it disappeared, leaving a void that couldn't be filled by other buyers. California almond growers, once booming, saw exports to China plummet as tariffs doubled prices, making their products unaffordable for Chinese consumers. Warehouses filled up with unsold goods, and the same story played out for dairy and pork producers, who suddenly lost access to a critical market. Even after a Phase 1 trade deal, the promised purchases never fully materialized, leaving many farmers waiting for relief that never came. Chinese buyers found new suppliers in Brazil, Argentina, and elsewhere, and the trust built over decades was broken, perhaps for good. The U.S. lost its status as China's preferred supplier, a position that may never be fully regained. The financial toll has been staggering, tens of billions in lost export revenue with ripple effects across the entire rural economy. Lower commodity prices hit every farmer, not just those exporting to China, as the entire market adjusted downward. When a major buyer leaves, prices drop for everyone, forcing some to sell equipment or livestock just to stay afloat. Thousands of farms have been pushed to the brink of bankruptcy, with some forced to close their doors after generations. The trade war didn't just hurt exports, it reshaped the entire farm economy, changing the landscape of rural America. The damage is not just financial but structural, as infrastructure and communities built around exports begin to crumble. The ripple effects are still being felt, from empty main streets to fields left unplanted. For many, recovery seems out of reach, as families face the painful decision to leave the land they've worked for generations. The question is, can American agriculture adapt, innovate, and find new markets to survive in this changed world? Or is this the new normal, a future where uncertainty and loss are part of everyday life on the farm? Why was China so crucial? Scale and growth. With 1.4 billion people and a rising middle class, China's appetite for high-quality food exploded. More income meant more demand for meat, dairy, and animal feed, especially soybeans. U.S. farmers built their business models around this demand, investing in technology and infrastructure. The supply chain was a marvel, moving crops from Midwest fields to Chinese ports. China also bought U.S. dairy byproducts and pork cuts less valued at home, adding value to every animal. For California growers, China was a frontier for premium products. Losing this market wasn't just a setback, it was a seismic shift. There's no replacement for a customer like China. When the U.S. left the Chinese market, others rushed in. Brazil, already a major soybean producer, became China's top supplier. Brazilian farmers expanded production, built new infrastructure, and signed long-term contracts. This wasn't a temporary fix, it was a permanent shift. Even after some tariffs eased, American farmers couldn't reclaim lost ground. Chinese buyers had new partners and reconfigured supply chains. The U.S. was no longer seen as reliable. Australia, New Zealand, and Europe filled gaps in dairy and pork. Canada found new opportunities. The trade war became a marketing campaign for America's competitors. They proved they could deliver, without political baggage. For U.S. farmers, the market they built was handed to rivals. Regaining trust and market share is a monumental task. The world has moved on. American agriculture is struggling to find its place. The impact doesn't stop at the farm gate. When farmers lose income, rural economies suffer. Equipment dealers, seed suppliers, diners, and hardware stores all feel the pinch. Job losses ripple through trucking, processing, and local services. The trade war exported not just crops, but jobs. Stress and uncertainty take a toll on mental health, with rising suicide rates among farmers. As farms close, small towns decline. Schools, hospitals, and businesses shutter. What's lost isn't just money, but a way of life. The fallout is economic and deeply human. The heartland is hollowing out. The trade war is only part of the crisis. Rising costs for fuel, fertilizer, and seed are squeezing already thin margins. Labor shortages make it hard to harvest crops, especially for fruits and vegetables. Farmers pay more for workers or watch crops rot in the field. Climate change brings unpredictable weather. Droughts, floods, and storms threaten every harvest. Adapting is expensive, and there are no guarantees. Lost exports, high costs, labor shortages, and extreme weather have created a perfect storm. The financial cushion is gone. Even a small setback can be catastrophic. Family farms are being pushed to the breaking point. As 2025 ends, the future of American farming is more uncertain than ever. The crisis threatens the backbone of U.S. agriculture, family farms. Lacking the resources of big corporations, small farms are most vulnerable. The result: consolidation. Fewer, bigger farms, less local ownership, and a fading rural identity. This isn't just economics, it's cultural. Policy choices in Washington have lasting consequences in the heartland. The trade war's cost was stability and trust. Global trade is a web of relationships, not just numbers. The damage may take decades to repair, if it can be repaired at all. The plight of the American farmer is about more than soybeans and tariffs. It's about the future of rural America and the family farm. The choices we make now will decide if these communities survive or fade away. The silent harvest is a warning. Will we listen